Hi guys and welcome back to my read-along channel. Today we're going to start Roald Dahl the Twits. This is all Roald Dahl's own work. I'm just reading it for entertainment and pleasure. It's really nice to get going again. I've been quite unwell, as we say, back in the other videos, and I've just taken a bit of time off to make sure I'm fully recovered while I'm back at work. So thanks for your patience. I'm really happy to be back doing another read-along channel for you guys. So we've got the Twits by Roald Dahl. Let's make a start. The first chapter, and the chapters don't have numbers, so I'm going to number them for you guys, and I'll try to remember to tell you what page I finish on as well. So this chapter is the first chapter in the book, and it's called Hairy Faces. Fantastic, let's go. What a lot of hairy faces men there are around nowadays. When a man grows hair all over his face, it is impossible to tell what he really looks like. Perhaps that's why he does it. He'd rather you didn't know. Then there's the problem of washing. When the very hairy ones wash their faces, it must be as big a job as when you and I wash the hair on our heads. So what I want to know is this. How often do all these hairy-faced men wash their faces? Is it only a week like us on Saturday nights? And do they shampoo it? Do they use hairdryer? Do they rub a hair tonic in to stop their faces from going bald? Do they go to a barber to have their hairy faces cut and trimmed, or do they do it themselves in front of the bathroom mirror with nail scissors? I don't know, but the next time you see a man with a hairy face, which will probably be as soon as you step out on the street, maybe you will look at him more closely and start wondering about some of these things. Mr. Twit. Next chapter already. Mr. Twit was one of those very hairy-faced men. The whole of his face, except for his forehead, his eyes, his nose, was covered in thick hair. The stuff even spurted in revolting tufts out of his nostrils and ear holes. Mr. Twit felt that his hairless hairiness made him look terrifically wise and grand, but in the truth he was neither of these things. Mr. Twit was a twit. He was born a twit, and now at the age of 60 he was a bigger twit than ever. The hair on Mr. Twit's face didn't grow smooth and matted as it does on most hairy-faced men. It grew as spikes that stuck out straight like the bristles of a nail brush. And how often did Mr. Twit wash his bristly, nail-brushy face of his? The answer is never, not even on the Sundays. He hadn't washed it for years. Next chapter, Dirty Beards. As you know, an ordinary unhairy face like yours or mine simply gets a bit smudgy if it's not washed on often enough, and there's nothing so awful about that. But a hairy face is very different matter. Things cling to hairs, especially food. Things like gravy go right in among the hairs and stay there. You and I can wipe our smooth faces with a flannel, and we quickly look more or less all right again. But the hairy man cannot do that. We can also, if we are careful, eat our meals without spreading food all over our faces. But not so the hairy man. Watch carefully next time you see the hairy man eating his lunch, and you will notice that even if he opens his mouth very wide, it is impossible for him to get a spoonful of beef stew or ice cream and chocolate sauce into it without leaving some of it on the hairs. Mr. Twit didn't even bother to open his mouth wide when he ate. As a result, and because he never washed, there were always hundreds of bits of old breakfasts and lunches and suppers sticking to the hairs around his face. They weren't big bits, mind you, because he used to wipe those off with the back of his hand or on his sleeve while he was eating. But if you looked closely, not that you'd ever want to, you would see tiny little specks of dried up scrambled eggs stuck to the hairs, and spinach and tomato ketchup and fish fingers and minced chicken livers, and all the disgusting things Mr. Twit liked to eat. If you look closer still, hold your noses, ladies and gentlemen. If you peered deep into the moustachy bristles sticking out over his upper lip, you would probably see much larger objects that had escaped the wipe of his hand. Things that had been there for months and months, like a piece of maggoty green cheese or mouldy old cornflake, or even the slimy tail of a tinned sardine. Because of all this, Mr. Twit never went really hungry. By sticking out his tongue and curling it sideways to explore the hairy jungle around his mouth, he was always able to find a tasty morsel here and there to nibble on. What am I trying to tell you is that Mr. Twit was a foul and smelly old man. He was also an extremely horrid old man, as you will find out in a moment. Mrs. Twit. Mrs. Twit was no better than her husband. She did not, of course, have a hairy face. It was a pity she didn't, because at any rate would have hidden some of her fearful ugliness. Take a look at her, and there's a picture. Have you ever seen a woman with an uglier face than that? I doubt it, but the funny thing is that Mrs. Twit wasn't born ugly. She had quite a nice face when she was young. The ugliness had grown upon her year by year as she got older. Why would that happen? I'll tell you why. If a person has ugly thoughts, it begins to show on the face. And when that person has ugly thoughts every day, every week, every year, the face gets uglier and uglier until it gets so ugly you can hardly bear to look at it. A person who has good thoughts cannot ever be ugly. You can have a wonky nose and a crooked mouth and a double chin and stick out teeth, but if you have a good thoughts, they will shine out of your face like sunbeams, and you will always look lovely. Nothing shone out of Mrs. Twit's face. In her right hand she carried on a walking stick. She used to tell people that this was because she had warts growing on the sole of her left foot, and walking was painful. But the real reason she carried a stick was so that she could hit things with it, things like dogs and cats and small children. And then there was the glass eye. Mrs. Twit had a glass eye that was always looking the other way. Next chapter, the glass eye. You can play a lot of tricks with a glass eye because you can take it out and pop it back in again any time you like. You can bet your life Mrs. Twit knew all the tricks. One morning she took out her glass eye and dropped it into Mr. Twit's mug of beer when he wasn't looking. Mr. Twit sat there drinking the beer slowly. The froth made a white ring on the hairs around his mouth. He wiped the white froth on his sleeve and wiped his sleeve on his trousers. You're plotting something, Mrs. Twit said, keeping her back turned so he wouldn't see that she had taken out her glass eye. Whenever you go all quiet like that, I know very well you're plotting something. Mrs. Twit was right. Mr. Twit was plotting away like mad. He was trying to think up a really nasty trick he could play on his wife that day. You'd better be careful, Mrs. Twit said, because when I see you starting to plot, I watch you like a wombat. Oh, do shut up, you old hag, Mr. Twit said. He went on drinking his beer, and his evil mind kept working on the latest horrid trick he was going to play on the old woman. Suddenly, as Mr. Twit tipped the last drop of beer down his throat, he caught the sight of Mrs. Twit's awful glass eyes staring up at him from the bottom of the mug. It made him jump. I told you I was watching you, cackled Mrs. Twit. I've got eyes everywhere, so you better be careful. Next chapter, the frog. To pay her back for the glass eye in his beer, Mr. Twit decided that he would put a frog in Mrs. Twit's bed. He caught a big one down the pond and carried it back secretly in a box. That night, when Mrs. Twit was in the bathroom getting ready for bed, Mr. Twit slipped the frog between her sheets. Then he got into his own bed and waited for the fun to begin. Mrs. Twit came back and climbed into her bed and put out the light. She lay there in the dark, scratching her tummy. Her tummy was itching. Dirty old hags like her always have itchy tummies. Then all at once she felt something cold and slimy crawling all over her feet. She screamed. What's the matter with you? Mr. Twit said. Help! Screamed Mrs. Twit, bouncing about. There's something in my bed. I'll bet it's that giant skillywiggler I saw on the floor just now, Mr. Twit said. That what? Screamed Mrs. Twit. I tried to kill it, but it got away, Mrs. Twit said. It's got teeth like screwdrivers. Help! Screamed Mrs. Twit. Save me! It's all over my feet. I'll bite off your toes, said Miss. It'll bite off your toes, said Mr. Twit. Mrs. Twit fainted. Mr. Twit got out of bed and fetched a jug of cold water. He poured the water over Mrs. Twit's head to revive her. The frog crawled out from under the sheets to get near the water. It started jumping about on the pillow. Frogs love water. This one was having a good time. When Mrs. Twit came to, the frog had just jumped onto her face. This is not a nice thing to happen to anyone in bed at night, she screamed again. By golly, it's a giant skillywiggler, Mr. Twit said. It'll bite off your nose. Mrs. Twit leapt out of bed and flew downstairs and spent the night on the sofa. The frog went to sleep on her pillow. And I am going to stop there, if that's okay, guys. Well, I asked you if it was okay, but I am going to stop there, guys. So thank you for listening. It's been really nice to get back into these read-alongs. And until the next time, guys, goodbye.